It's the right like color.
I guess some of that. Hear yourself talking.
Oh my god, and you don't realize how So right here, I am doing an upside down triangle. So basically what I'm showing you here is really how to separate your top parting so that way you can get the best blend possible. So right here, you're going to see exactly where it's split. So you'll see kind of the Y. And so right here, I'm going to actually be taking diagonal partings. The important part of this, and the reason why I'm teasing right on that hairline, is because when she goes to pull her hair up, I want to make sure that she has very soft lines. That way she doesn't have any harsh lines around her hairline. So the tease is actually going to help with that. But you notice how I have her hair split from that triangle part that I did at the right at the crown, underneath the crown. I'm going into now diagonal, and I'm now going to do the same thing. So on both sides of the back of her hair, and I'm scooting the camera up just a little bit so you can really see what I'm doing here. But this is the very important part. I'm like literally maybe taking ½ an inch to an inch sections, and you'll see that I'm about to clean up my part here in just a second so I can have clean sections so I really know what I'm doing and what I'm messing with. And well, I say what I'm messing with, but you guys know what I mean. This is where I'm using the Redken flash lift, and I'm using 30 volume at this point. This client is very naturally dark hair. It's not color on her roots. So I basically have to make sure that I do 30 first because it is going to not pull at all. I'm not going all the way to her ends, and the reason why I'm not doing that is because she has already pretty blonde ends. So now that we're on that top section here, on the triangle, basically I'm going to diagonal everything that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to make sure that I'm weaving and I'm doing the things necessary to get that very clean part, and also just to make sure that I'm ensuring that I'm doing enough product on the actual hair. The thin sections here are the most important because this is where we have to ensure and make sure that we're saturating that hair, so that way, because she has coarse hair, that she gets the lightness and the brightness that we need. So this is why I'm taking small sections and saturating the blonde. So now we are finally on the final side, and so you'll see here when I'm taking these partings, I'm making sure that I'm saturating the hair right above her ear, because again, this is going to be at the hairline, so we need to make sure that we do small baby lights through this area, even a small weave, whatever you may call it. Whatever you decide to call it, but we're going to make sure that we saturate it and make sure we really get to this part of her hair. And then I'm going to go down and you're going to see me tease a little bit, and I'm just to soften up that line, and then I'm going to apply lightener. So we already have gotten some foils done right here, but as you can tell, she has so much hair, and I had to literally crack up at myself when I was like watching myself play back on this, on when I was doing the edits and stuff, and it was cracking me up because I'm like, I literally take that clip and I'm just throwing it on top of her head. I'm like, just get away. You know, sometimes when you're doing these techniques and you're doing these very detailed highlighting things, it's like you don't want to see the rest of the hair that you have to do. And so she has so much hair, as you can tell, and so I literally just threw it over there and was like, forget it, pin it up. I don't want to see this part. I'm just trying to get through this process. I'm already 45 minutes in highlighting her. So as you can tell at this point, it's very, very detailed, and just to ensure that you're getting the lightener where you need it to be, and making sure those places that you are creating the depth are in the correct spots, because when you're getting around these hairlines and you're getting around these spots, you want to create depth, but you don't want to make almost kind of like a line of demarcation. You don't want to tell where there was roots or where those places you didn't touch. You want it to look intentional without putting color on it. So just know that when you're doing something like this, be reminded and be very much as a visionary. You've got to see how you want it to look before you get there. The reason why I'm not laying these diagonal and I'm laying them across like this is because when I'm going to be applying the roots, I'm basically just trying to get lightener and getting coverage at this point. I'm not trying to lay them diagonal towards her face, and it's because we're actually going to be putting a root color melt on top of those. That's the reason why I'm laying them horizontal like this, and I'm literally just weaving to break up the harsh lines and have some softness in there. But you'll see when we begin to put the color melt and the actual color on her roots, how it looks. Because she has so much hair, I used the entire tube of the ultraviolet. I used more of 8SS than I did the 6SS. And so basically now At this point, I mixed pretty much equal parts. It's a demi-permanent color, so clearly it's pretty purple at this point. But the reason why I used more 8SS because I wasn't really wanting it to be too dark. And so you can kind of see how she processed. Some tones in there are yellow, but before I actually, after I washed her entire color out, I went through and shampooed her with Firmisi purple shampoo. And it took a lot of the brass out and a lot of those underlying tones. So I knew with the SS I was going to really smoke out that color. So I was not concerned about any of the yellow undertones, nor did I feel like I needed to go in there and relighten any pieces. So you just see me at this point just applying this color to her roots, and then we are going to address the midstrands and ends in a minute. So for her midstrands, I'm using Tang MY Identity, the 10NI and the 10A. The reason why I chose to do the 10A as well as with the 10NI is because she did have some warm tones where I knew I was applying her roots and where the transition was between the blonde ends. So what I'm showing you now is originally when I applied the root color, I went horizontally everywhere. Now I'm taking diagonal sections to make sure that I'm kind of going through and rechecking to make sure that the roots are saturated. And that way I can bring the root down a little bit further in some places and blend out those places. You see that I just wiped my hand because basically I'm trying to keep clean partings. When you're dealing with a smoky root color, especially when you're dealing with a vivid of any color, you want to try to make sure that you're keeping those two colors separated, but also creating blends. So you see I'm taking my fingers, really going in there, and so I saw there was a few spots in there that I really needed to reapply that root. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm going in there and I'm really saturating that root, kind of spreading that hair out, making sure that I got everything I needed. And again, there's my towel, and I'm making sure that I'm wiping it off. And then you see me apply the mid strands. So this is equal parts 10NI and 10A, and I use 10 volume. Obviously she has tons of hair, so I used about 1.5 ounces of each to give me 3 ounces, and I did 3 ounces of developer of 10 volume. And you guys, the ends turned out amazing. Loved it, loved it, loved it. So can't wait for you guys to see the end. And here is the final result. Basically, let me go in and explain. So you see how her back end of her hair has a softer, and then the roots in the front have a more vibrant. I went in and used it's called Locked In Purple by Pravana, and at the bowl I literally set it on just her front areas around her hairline above her ears. I set it there for probably about maybe 5 minutes at the most. So I went in there and completely just did the front, and it kind of gave it like a little splash, and that's where you kind of see the final product. Let me know what you guys think.